Welcome to The Third Chair, a show about real people, real stories, real life. And here are your hosts for The Third Chair, Peter Grigg and Doug Bazeski.
Oh, wow. So, last week we learned that there are mermaids and strong women. And we saw some incredible... All in one. And we had that special guest, Julia, on. And you know what, Doug?
She was special.
She was awesome. And by popular demand, she is back tonight.
Yeah, the popular demand was you and me.
That's right. And the big bonus check we gave her. Anyways, last week we had the pleasure of meeting Julia Hilleary. She's a local visual artist, recently completing a BA in visual arts at the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs, and an associate's in art studies from Pikes Peak Community College, which is also a local college here in town. As we found out, she's a local personal trainer, yoga instructor, and part-time mermaid.
Yes.
At the Denver Aquarium. Not only that, we will also talk to the man lucky enough to be married to a mermaid, Julia's husband, Ty. For the moment, please welcome back Julia Hilleary. Hi, welcome back. We're here with Julia Hilleary, and we are talking artist stuff. And if you saw last week's episode, we have been discussing many things from creating art and using technology. And I now have a question about getting attached to your projects. Do you find it hard to, say you have someone you really like and you want to give a painting away as a gift that's meaningful for you. Is it hard to do that?
Oh,
is that your little baby?
Yeah, it is so hard because sometimes I'm like, There is a little bit of that, like, what if they don't like it as much as I like it? And I don't want to give it to them if they're not going to appreciate it as much as I like. I feel like I pour my heart and soul into some things. And if I give it to one of my friends and she's like, it's nice. And then, like, years later, like, we sort of drift apart and she gives it to Goodwill or something and be like, my painting. So I'm like, yeah. So sometimes, like, I have to know that person really well and be like, I really trust them in order to give them something.
Because it's really a significant part of your soul, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm like, I could give anybody a print, but an original, I'm like, I gotta be like, okay, I really know that you're gonna keep this and I really, like, respect your opinion.
Very good, very good. Okay, you've told me something before, and I don't know if I'm saying this right. There's some type of project that you would like to do or have seen called Meow Wolf. Is that the right name?
Yeah, Meow Wolf.
I mean, to me, it just sounds like a feminized wolf. But what? Tell us about that.
So Meow Wolf, as a lot of people do know because they've been there, it's an interactive art exhibition. Basically, they take like an entire building. Sometimes it's like a warehouse, and they build multiple installations in it. Basically, so. I think the most recent one I've seen was like you walk into a kitchen and it's all outlines and you're like, oh my gosh, this place looks like a cartoon, and then you open the fridge and it's a portal to like another dream world and you go down a slide or something and there's like crazy colors everywhere. And it's kind of like a dream world, but they've made it into a reality, and it's usually made by a conglomerate of a bunch of artists. I don't know if they're treated that well under the Meow Wolf corporation. I don't know if that's a corporation or not, but I have heard some things where the artists that work there are like, I don't even get credited, man, and I worked so hard on this. So I'm like, I want to do something like that, but I want it to be completely my vision. And I don't have a plan for it. I'm not like, this room's going to be this and it's going to lead into this. I literally just want a big place and I can go in every day and just add more crazy stuff until people are like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I want to like look deeper into it.
Like Julia's House of Mermaids.
there would definitely be a mermaid room.
Yeah,
probably
I can't imagine there not being a mermaid.
A billionaire, I'd have girls in there swimming all the time.
Okay, what kind of food, drink, or song inspires you?
Ooh, I don't know about food or drink. I like to drink tea a lot while I'm painting. I don't know if it inspires me or if I just like am a tea person because my mom's British and she's like, oh, have a cup of tea.
So Earl Grey British tea.
Not even Earl Grey. It's the stuff she gets is Taylor's of Harrogate Yorkshire tea, and it's just like a black English breakfast tea sort of thing. And I've been having that since I was little, and I'm just like now obsessed with it for some reason. So it doesn't really inspire me, but music definitely inspires me. I like, obviously, My Chemical Romance. I think I mentioned that. I like sort of like that pop punk sort of music. I also like sort of metal things. I like Metallica a lot, but I have to be in like a certain mood to listen to any of these things.
Do you do any rapping? I could see you doing some rapping.
I don't rap. I listen to rap, but I don't rap. I'm a white girl. I'm not gonna rap.
Hey.
Every time I see another white girl rap, I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. Unless she's really good, but I haven't actually seen that yet. So,
you know, it seems to me that to create, at times you have to create your own mental energy to do a project. Do you do anything special, like to create energy when you need to create energy?
Sometimes I'll do yoga. Sometimes I'll do a workout, which does not work because then I might have the mental energy to do something, but then I don't lack the physical energy and I just want to sit down for a little bit and I fall asleep or something. So, so that doesn't work. But yoga seems to help. Like sometimes just getting up and moving my body will sort of help. And I don't usually do it like the meditation, like think about the art, because if I do that, I'm going to get sleepy too. Or I'm going to be so zenned out. I'm like, who needs to create? All life is wonderful. And then, you know, that weird zen place you go to after a really good yoga class. So I tend to do it like I'll watch TV. I've watched Frasier about 17 times, so I'll like throw on Frasier and just do some yoga and be like, okay, now I feel refreshed. I'm going to go paint something. So sometimes that works.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think people have to find kind of their own groove with that, what works for them.
Yeah.
But speaking of finding your groove, I understand your first job was a janitor. Did it help you find your groove at all?
Oh, gosh, I did not like that job. So I worked on Fort Carson, which is the Army base, a little bit down south. And my dad's Air Force, so right off the bat I noticed that Air Force and Army are very different. The Army guys are kind of, not all the time, but a lot of times they can be younger and more rude and like in your face. And really, it's their wives that I don't like because they feel they're so entitled sometimes. They're like, I'm an Army wife, so everybody else get out of my way. And I'm like, okay, I'm just mopping, ma'am. But, yeah, no, it kind of taught me how to zone out while doing things. So, like, I would be mopping, I'd be wiping down tables just for hours and hours, getting exhausted, only being paid, like, $8 an hour. And so I would just, like, zone out. Yeah. I'd zone out and, like, imagine I was in different places and be like, oh, my gosh, I'm in an airplane. I'm with, I don't know, some whatever celebrity I was obsessed with at the time. Because I was 18. I don't remember then. That was too long ago. It's only 6 years ago, but, yeah. It wasn't the greatest.
So you zone out. Do you zone out your husband sometimes when you're doing the art?
He doesn't talk to me a lot while I'm doing art. Sometimes he'll come in and be like, good job, I like it. Or I'll ask him, I'll be like, what do you think of this part? Do you think this looks good? And he'll usually give me, he's very honest. He's like, even fashion. He's very good at like, I'll walk in, I'll be like, what do these boots look like? And he'll be like, not with that outfit. And I'm like, how do you know this stuff? Most guys are like, yeah, it looks great. Playing your video games.
Yeah, most guys say it looks great because they're afraid if they actually tell the truth, the result will be worse than...
Yeah. That's only true about a third of the time. Sometimes I'll ask him, how does this look? And what I really want him to say is, looks great, babe. And he'll be like, I don't think it works with that. And it's like...
That's that criticism you talked about in the last show.
Yeah. Sometimes I can handle it if it's from him because I know he's like at the end of the day he's not going to be like, oh, she's garbage, because he's like, you married me, you gotta like me.
Well, you know, every married couple has that dynamic to some degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last show you talked about, let's talk about a job you like, which was the mermaid. You talked about that last show. How did you ever get that job?
So when I think right after I quit the janitor job, I worked at a trampoline park for like 2 months, and then I got a job as a swim teacher, and I loved that job. I loved teaching kids how to swim. And there was a girl that worked there with me, and she was a lifeguard. She wasn't a swim teacher, but she moved up to Denver because I think her family lived in Denver or something. I don't know about that, but she got a job at the aquarium because she was very tall, very beautiful, had long flowing hair, and she was like, they're hiring mermaids. I'm definitely going to go work at the aquarium as a mermaid. And then they started to get desperate for people, and just about the time that it was actually another swim school came in and took over my swim school because I wasn't planning on quitting soon. I was like, maybe eventually because my hair's getting wrecked, but this other swim school came in, took over, kind of kicked me out, and I was like, oh, I need another job. And this girl called me, she's like, we need mermaids. I know you live in Colorado Springs, but can you please come be a mermaid? And I was like, it's only a 2-hour drive, and I get to do what I've wanted to do since I was 16, and I went to the aquarium and I saw mermaids sitting out, and I was like, you can do that for money? That is so cool.
So how, I hear how do they get you on stage? I mean, put you in that big aquarium. How do you?
So make sure there's no little kids listening. I don't want to break the magic for them, but like what we do, there's a dive locker, and it's right. Like, there's the shark tank. I don't know if you guys have ever been to the Denver Aquarium, but there's like a shark tank, and then there's a dive locker. It's on top of the shark tank. It literally is like cutting into it slightly. So we're surrounded by sharks all the time. And we go up there, we go up in this big freight elevator, and we walk around, and there's dive suits everywhere. Because really the only people that go back there are there for the dive programs. So nobody sees behind the scenes, except for sometimes kids will go in and they'll see us and we have to hide. But they have, around the corner, there's mermaid tails, and there's a big rack of them. And then there's like 10 or 12 different mermaid tails, all different sizes.
So you like take one off the, like a suit off the rack?
Yeah,
you go and you find a tail?
Yeah, we grab a tail.
Are they heavy?
Oh, because they're so heavy. They're like 50, 60 pounds if they're soaking
you swim
wet.
with that on?
It's actually, okay, so the silicone they use is very buoyant.
Oh,
so it feels like you're not wearing anything except for your legs are tied up.
So is it very dangerous to have that on, and then you're trying to breathe underwater for a while?
So we don't breathe underwater.
So hold your breath.
A kid came up to me one time and they're like, I can't be a mermaid because I can't breathe underwater. And I was like, sweetie, nobody can breathe underwater. You know what a dolphin is? Even they come up for air sometimes.
So you gotta hold your breath for how long?
I can hold my breath for 2 minutes, and I have done so during a show before. Sometimes when I first get in the water, it's so hard because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. When I went in for my first, it was an audition. It wasn't an interview. It was an audition to be a mermaid. They had me like practice doing all these things. I wasn't even in a tail. I was in a dive suit with the weights and everything. And we always have a safety diver there. And like she's like, go down and do a window sweep, which is where you go across the whole window and interact with the crowd and then do like a flip or something pretty. And I got to the top, and my lungs were screaming so badly that I felt like I was gonna die, and I just started crying. And they were like, oh my God, are you okay? And I was like, that was so scary. And they were like, this is the best audition I've ever seen. You can't give up. And I was like, this is the best audition you've ever had. And I'm bawling my eyes out because I thought I was gonna die. So I'm like, I would love to see what the other girls did.
So if you're getting a little short on air, though, do you have a signal for the diver to come over? Because I'm sure you practice breathing off a regulator.
Yeah, definitely. We have to practice that as part of our like safety training. So if we get caught on something or we get bitten by an eel and we're freaking out, then we have to throw our arms up like this, and they come over, and that's their signal to give us.
Eels, are they?
No. we have moray eels, which they don't mean to bite, but they can't see, and when they feel threatened, they bite. And we've had mermaids get bitten before,
because they're pretty tame, aren't they?
I wouldn't call them tame. They're mean to me. They don't like me.
So
One of them, I haven't been bitten, but like we have been. Like I have a video of one of my coworkers. An eel went straight for her and tried to attack her, and I think it's because she was wearing a bright pink top, and it was like enemy attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the safety diver who's wearing like the thick diver suit was like sometimes they have like the chainmail on for the sharks and stuff. She jumped in front, so the eel only bit into the suit, so it couldn't get its teeth deep in. But if it gets into your skin, it can get like really badly infected, and they can take chunks out too. So they got strong jaws.
Okay. Well, we will find out more about possible deadly injuries being a mermaid right after this break. We sure hope you're enjoying this episode of The Third Chair.
Would you like to be a sponsor for the Third Chair?
We would love to have you join us to keep the show going and also help your business. Send us an email about your product or company and let's talk.
And follow us on social media.
Now back to The Third Chair.
Yes.
Well, welcome back. We're here with Julia Hilleary, and we're hearing of her exploits as a mermaid. And anything you wanted to add to that?
You know, I don't really remember where we left off, so it's scary, but towards the end, like, I had usually 6-hour shifts, and we do 3 main shows and then 2 dining room shows during that time. And during the last show, no, the second to last show is always the one where I go down and I stay down there for 2 minutes and everybody's freaking out. They're like, is she still moving? Is she okay? And they're just, I'm still going around. And there's one time, I was like hamming it up for the audience. I do like a handstand and then I did a flip and then I couldn't think of what to do from there. So I did another flip. And I did another flip. And I'm upside down. There's water in my nose and everything. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do from here. So I just kept flipping for like a full minute and a half. My friend was like, I saw you doing that. I didn't take a video because I thought you might have been dying or something. So I was just like, and he got a smile on my face and everything. And I came back up and they were like, that was a long window sweep. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about air or anything because my lungs by that point have adjusted to the fact that you're going to be holding your breath for a long time. And if you blow bubbles while you're doing it, you can blow bubble kisses or you can just like do bubble rings or something. It actually takes away your lungs constriction. They don't, what's the word?
Compression?
I guess, maybe. I can't think of the word, but yeah, your lungs don't freak out quite as much. And they're like, yeah, you're losing air, but you've still got plenty of oxygen, so you don't feel like that pang of, ow, I need to get air after a while. And I just went up because I was like, I heard the music cue. I could have stayed down longer, but I figured like maybe I'm going numb and I need to like come up before my vision goes black or something.
Wow.
But yeah, so.
Yeah, like having a vascular choke on yourself.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like you're beginning to tunnel vision when you're down that long?
So I've never been down long enough for my vision to be affected. And the reason for that is because I always think to myself, no matter how much this hurts, as long as I can still see, I'm fine. So the moment even my vision starts to become a little bit fuzzy, that's when I go up. Mm. Or if my vision starts to go fuzzy, it doesn't usually happen until about a minute in. So I can go up at any time because the lines that we do, we like mouth along to these little lines so it looks like we're talking underwater. Mm. And the lines that we do are never more than like 45 seconds, I think. Mm. There's one super long like dialogue between 2 characters in the Christmas show where we're like, oh, I love eating seaweed cake. Seaweed cake, yeah, I think it's yummy. I think it's delicious. And then another girl comes down and we have to stay down there like, oh my god, I've just done so much and now I have to stay here and I'm dying. And then we like, towards the end, we're like, mermaids love to dance. And we spin up and at the top I'm like, back down.
So you have to be tough to be a mermaid.
Yeah, I think 1 out of 10 girls that audition get it.
Yeah, and you have another job where you have to be tough. You're a kickboxing instructor for
That is true.
9 rounds.
And I get to kick Peter's butt almost daily.
Yeah.
It's great.
Frequently.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you kick Peter's butt?
Well, 9-round trainers, we get to basically guide people through a workout. And although I don't, since we're not allowed to like punch people, obviously, I don't get to like do a lot of sparring. I do sometimes, but in a motivational trainer way, not like a mean way, you know. I'm like, Peter, come on, put your dukes up or something. Yeah. But since we don't get to do that very often, most of the ways that I get to kick his butt is by like, if he forgets his boxing gloves, then he has to do burpees. Peter loves burpees. How many did I make you do for your birthday?
86 or 93. I couldn't believe
Something
it.
like
Oh,
that.
for his
Yeah.
age, right? 93?
I turned 59. You're supposed to stop at 59.
95.
I was trying to get you up to 95, you know,
Yeah.
switch it around a little bit.
She's
you know?
dyslexic.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
He just kept going.
Yeah.
I didn't make him go anymore after 59.
That's what they all say. Yeah. I had nothing to do with it. Yeah.
So what are your qualifications to be a kickboxer instructor? I mean, do you know judo or one of those other
So
martial arts?
I've always been into physical fitness, basically. I am both a yoga teacher and I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I haven't gone there recently because, you know, things have been closed, but I am a blue belt in Jiu-Jitsu and I've been a blue belt for 2 years and I was a white belt for 3 years before that. So I've been training for quite a while.
Well, Peter's a black belt, and what are you a black belt in, Peter?
I've got a leather black belt.
Yeah, I've got a little tiger
Taekwondo.
belly.
Taekwondo. Do you think you can beat Peter?
Oh yeah. Yeah, she can whack me real good.
Well,
I
that's a
wouldn't
lot of
want
confidence.
to try.
Yeah.
I like Peter. I don't
Oh,
like
thank
his
you.
butt.
Yeah, we can rage a match up at 9 rounds.
Yeah.
Probably not with jujitsu because that's all on the ground and grappling stuff. And if I did that in front of Melissa, she'd be like, "What are you doing? That's not
Oh,
kickboxing."
maybe you could use something like a standing vascular choke or something.
I can do a nice like little fireman's flip, put you on the ground, knee on the
Yeah.
belly, you know, that
Yeah,
sort of
that-
thing.
yeah.
I just want to see you make Peter suffer. Right?
There's just a few too many people in the studio that want to see me suffer.
Well, see, the nice thing is I can make him suffer without actually having to physically punch him or anything. I can just be like, Peter, go punch that bag a little harder. Oh, you
Yeah,
slow down, put those hands
alright.
back
Okay,
up.
yeah, we want to see you do that.
Yeah.
We're gonna film
Yeah,
session.
partly because of the COVID, we used to do a lot of like pad drills
Yeah.
where you'd have to punch and kick the pads and they'd move around and even try and whack you with the pad a little bit if you're not paying attention.
Well, we got the focus sticks now. I can whack him with the sticks, but Melissa told
she
me not
bangs you with a
to.
stick, yeah.
Well,
She told me it's not a motivational tool.
We'll
It's-
talk to Melissa because we have her on the show. And we'll tell her you could use the sticks on Peter.
Okay.
There's just a little bit too much enthusiasm about the word of using a stick on Peter.
Yeah, that's
They're
a
fun,
lot
you know?
of it.
Yeah.
The only person that's let me hit them is Cornelius. I don't know if you've ever worked out with him, but
Yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, punch me," and I was like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, do it," and I was like, "Tap," and he's like, "No, harder," and I was like, "Whack!" I don't know.
Yeah, Melissa was whacking me with the sticks the other day as well.
She loves to do that.
Yeah.
She can do that. She owns it.
Oh, maybe-
Yeah.
Well, see.
Yeah.
Look at her, the
Yeah.
sticks. Well,
Yeah.
we're there too. Just
Yeah.
whack you with sticks and
I suspect there
boxing
may
gloves and we'll hide your gloves before you go so you have to do the burpee things.
Be like, "Oh, you forgot your gloves."
I suspect that there can be some surprise video footage of this time at the gym.
Yeah, it's not a surprise to the audience now.
No. That'll be good.
Yeah.
So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu, yeah.
So how's that different from the other martial arts?
I can't remember who it was developed by, but it was definitely a Brazilian guy. So there's Japanese jiu-jitsu and then there's Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and basically it was mainly a grappling sport, obviously all self-defense. There was some punching and kicking involved in Japanese jiu-jitsu, and then that one split up into jiu-jitsu and aikido. Somebody brought it over to Brazil, and then the Brazilians were like, "Oh, so it's kind of like wrestling," and then they like perfected it basically.
Mhm.
And I can't remember who the family is called. I know
The Gracie family?
Gracie family. Yeah, that sounds right.
The grandfather
Royce
was
Gracie.
Julian or yeah.
Yeah, our coach used to talk to us about this all the time, and for some reason he talks so much that we're like, we love him, he's great, but sometimes what he just talks about is just like, "That's great, Bill, what's the move that we're gonna practice?"
Yeah.
So besides training Peter, which I know would be the most difficult thing, what's the hardest thing about your job as a personal trainer?
Waking up early.
You have the early shift, yeah.
Yeah, I've got the early shift, and
So
I did
what
that to
time you have
myself.
to be?
I wake up at 4:30 most mornings, and I'm a night person. I do all of my best. If I'm doing art, I'm doing it after 9 p.m. usually. And if I have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, I'm not doing art unless it's like little sketches or something. But luckily right now I only work there 3 days a week, which I love being able to get everything out of the way in the morning. I just have no energy until about 10 minutes into my shift after everybody shows up. And if nobody shows up within that 10 minutes, I'm like, I want to go home.
So you make sure the customers come, you're looking out the window. Right?
Yeah, I look out the window and I'm like, Peter, come in, I'm bored. I'm going to fall asleep if nobody comes in.
You go first thing in the morning.
Yeah, you don't go
right?
first thing in the morning.
No, I don't.
No?
Usually it's a group of like ladies that come in first thing in the morning. And they're always super dedicated, and they come in every single day, and they never, well, sometimes they miss a day now because a lot of them are homeschooling their kids, which is hard. And I gotta respect them for doing that. But a lot of times they come in right on time, and I'm like, okay, well, my morning crew is here, and I can feel their energy, so I can be energized. Mm-hmm. Then the only problem is when I go home, I'm like, I want to do stuff. Oh, gosh, I'm tired. Because a lot of times I've also stayed for a workout after I worked.
Oh, so you do your workout and then you go home and
you
hit a while. Do you just rest for a while before you do some?
Usually, yeah. Like
art
most of the times on a good day, I can do like if I sit down for an hour and I just sort of relax and like play with my phone or read a book or something, I can like sort of recharge. But some days I'm like, oh gosh, that was such a hard shift. So many people came in and so many of them wanted to be beaten up or something. So
do you take a nap?
I'm not a good napper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
your boss naps.
Yeah. I'm jealous that she can nap. There are occasions where I'll come home and he'll still be in bed because he works the night shift a lot of times. And I'll be like, oh, you're in bed? Well, I'm going to get in bed too because it's cold out here and I'd rather. And then I'll fall asleep because he can put me to sleep. But like if I'm not in bed, I'm not going to sleep because I don't know, I don't feel comfortable unless I've taken like NyQuil or something.
So that's the definition of a good husband. He can put his wife to sleep.
Yeah.
Does he have to like cast a spell on you?
No, he just puts me in a chokehold.
Yeah.
No.
Well, speaking of chokeholds,
No, he's just warm and big.
We'll hold that thought for a moment and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh,
Where's your gloves?
breathe. Right there.
Gloves over there.
They're right there. No, they really were.
I think that's a couple burpees, Peter. You got it.
There you go. Only 100 more. Keep going.
5,
Oh, yeah.
10.
Keep going.
Welcome back. We're here with Julia Hilleary, and we have just finished talking about all the different ways that I will probably be beaten up at 9 round in the near future. We're going to move to a little bit of a more sensitive topic, and I've gotten permission from Julia to ask about this, and so I'm going to. Julia, could you tell us a little bit, and whatever you feel comfortable saying, about your battles with an eating disorder or anything like that?
Well, I could say like most girls who have gone through high school and middle school and stuff, obviously there's pressures put upon you. With me, I always felt like I was a little, I don't know if I was or not, or if I just felt like that, but I always felt like I was bigger than other girls growing up. And some of it might have been because I was more athletic, so I would go like build muscle and stuff a lot faster than they would, but I always remember comparing myself to the girls around me and being like, their arms are really skinny. Why aren't my arms skinny? And like when I was in elementary school, there were boys that would be like, oh my God, you're such a, fat hippo or something like that. And I was like very hurt by that.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. And then it got a little bit worse. Like I sort of like brushed it off like, oh, boys are just being mean. But it got a little bit worse because my brother was a almost Olympic level figure skater. So he would go to the World Arena all the time, and he would be around these beautiful, gorgeous skating girls who, they look like ballerinas. They have tiny little waists, tiny little bodies. They're super muscular. And I'm just over here like, okay, I'm Andrew's sister who doesn't work out, doesn't do anything, and I feel very inferior to these girls, and I need to do something to change about that. And, obviously I talked to my therapist about this, and I'm going to say this, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but it's me, so I'm going to say it. But I'm sure, what was I saying? Totally got lost there.
You talked with your therapist about something?
Right. Yeah, she said, you're probably misguiding, you want to feel like you're equal to these girls, and you're misguiding the feeling of equality by being like, well, if I was as thin as these girls, then I would be equal to them, rather than okay, well, you just practice something and be good at it. But I was like, no, I've got to be pretty like these girls too. And, in my little teenage mind, thin was pretty. And it didn't help that one of my brother's friends, who was also a figure skater, he came up to me and he was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're Andrew's sister. You're so fat. And I was like, ouch. Okay. Ouch. And I went home and I talked to that guy's sister, who was kind of in the same boat as me. She's growing up with all these weird body ideas because she's surrounded by figure skaters, because her brother's a figure skater and she's not. So I'm like, so you and me are kind of in the same boat. But she was also 3 years younger than me and hadn't hit puberty yet, so she was still very tiny. And she's like, not really. And I was like, okay, so it's just me. So we've got a problem here, and it's me. And that sort of, it spiraled into, in 6th grade, I would go days without eating I would try to go days without eating anything. I didn't want to, I never brought this up to my parents. My parents didn't know anything about this. I never tried to show them any signs that I was, struggling with anything. I would, sometimes I would just eat dinner because I could get away with not eating breakfast or lunch if I just threw my lunch away, and I went to school without eating breakfast and just said I had breakfast, but I had to eat dinner because we all sat down as a family and ate dinner. Sure. Yeah, but I would sometimes just feel super guilty about it, and I would try to work it off. That sort of got me into the fitness world, as I wanted to not feel bad about eating anymore by just working it off. But there were still days when I'm like, oh, I feel so proud of myself because I only ate an apple or something, but meanwhile I'm in pain and I have no energy because I'm so hungry. And then it sort of developed too. I've gotten better with eating. I'm starting to see food as more like fuel than anything else, but there are still days that I feel like I'm like, oh, I went to work today, I worked so hard, I came home, I didn't eat anything when I got home, I'm so proud of myself. And it's like, why are you proud of that? It's stupid. You need to eat, you work at a fitness place. Yeah,
boy. Figure skaters have a really high rate of anorexia. And ballerinas, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're doing better with that.
Yeah, well, I thought I was done with it until I started going through therapy again recently, and she was like, you're still obsessed with food. And I'm like, I am, because I am obsessed with controlling what I eat, and I don't just eat for pleasure, I just eat for this is this and this is this, and if somebody puts a large plate of something in front of me and it's really delicious, I'll eat all of it until I feel sick, and then I'll curse myself and I'll go for a 6-mile run or something afterwards because I feel so bad about it. And then I'll feel terrible for the next 3 days because I'm sore and I worked myself too hard, and then I wouldn't let myself eat, and I'm like, you're right, I am obsessed with food, and I am obsessed with controlling myself, I guess.
Well, it sounds like you've still made some great addressing it. You've come a long way. I think that it's important for people to hear that young ladies or men can get better, and things can get better over time. What are you now? 24?
24, yeah.
24. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, thank you for sharing with that. I know that's really personal, and I really appreciate that. I'm going to change it now just to a thing a little bit lighter. What's this deal with graphic novels, and which ones do you like? And how did you learn to like those?
Well, I started liking graphic novels mainly, obviously Calvin and Hobbes. I loved Calvin and Hobbes, and then
I guess I've got a different idea of what a graphic novel is.
Yeah. Well, I sort of equate comic books and graphic novels. They're probably not the same thing, but
Yeah.
I took a class at PPCC that was what is it, like art and design as a graphic novel or something, and is basically he very much equated like comic books and like manga and actual like graphic novels into the same thing. What is that face you're making? Okay, you're just making a weird face. Okay, and I sort of like, I just lump them all together in the same thing, but I guess the graphic novels I like the best are like, I love The Umbrella Academy because I was obsessed with My Chemical Romance, and then when it became a big Netflix show, I was like, I was trying to get y'all into this 8 years ago when I was into it.
The Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix. Yeah.
You
It is
know,
on Netflix.
I am like clueless, and I consider myself a smart guy,
Yeah.
and I have like no idea of
Well, it
what you're
doesn't
talking
take
So,
about.
brains to
It's
look
not
on
a
Netflix.
it's not super popular like, you know, like X-Men and those sort of things. It was a Dark Horse comic for a long time, and he only had, I think, 2 or 3 of them out for a while. I loaned them to my friends, and she has not given it back to me yet, so I'm waiting for that. But other than that, I never got really into like any other series except for I did read a lot of manga. I read Naruto when I was growing up, which sort of got me obsessed. Naruto, yeah.
Naruto. There's really a Naruto.
Naruto, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
I am so ignorant.
it's okay. It's most people would know. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's about ninjas, and I was like,
Oh, I love ninjas.
Yeah. It was when I was growing up, I was like, well, if I can't be a pretty figure skater, I'm gonna be a ninja, and I'm gonna be like sneaky and work out really hard and be really strong and stuff. So I think that also sort of guided me into the direction I was sort of going in. And then there's other stuff that also influences my art, like one of these paintings, I don't know where it went, that's okay, the little angel painting, like that was inspired by one called Devil Man, which which started out as this really like sort of goofy thing about this kid who like becomes a demon, but he's like a demon for good. And it's funny because I took a history of Japanese art class, and the kid's name is Akira Fudo, and a Fudo is like a sculpture of a demon that's also a protector. And I was like, I'm linking things together. That's so cool. I understand why they named him that now. So now I'm more interested in like how it reflects the culture that it came from. And yeah, so that sort of thing just sort of is interesting to me.
So, how'd you meet your husband?
So he and I went to the same high school. He was a senior when I was a freshman, so like I knew who he was, but I didn't ever hang out with him. My best friend did actually, because he was in theater and I was not in theater yet, but she was in theater too, so they would hang out sometimes. But his little brother actually did marching band, and he was 2 grades below me. Yeah, 2 grades below me. And so sometimes I would walk home with him, and I'd be like, hey, is your brother still around? Because I remember thinking, I'm like, that Tyler kid's kind of hot, but like, he's a senior, so like, I'm a freshman. I'm never going to get a piece of that, you know?
I'll be interested in asking him in just a few minutes whether his recollection was the same or not.
Yeah. But then, like, our dads actually made us go to the same job fair one day. We're both like, oh, we don't want to go. It's like for military jobs. I don't want a military job.
You got that great job as a janitor, right?
Yeah, it's great. I didn't even
With
get
those
it at
army
that
people
job
that
fair.
suck.
I didn't even get it at that job fair. That was like a totally different thing, which was funny. But we both went to the same job fair, and we talked for a while. I was like, I recognize you because I know we went to the same high school. And like we started talking. I told him that I did jujitsu, and he was like, "Oh, that's so cool! I do aikido." And we sort of talked about that. He's like, "I have friends that do jujitsu, and we both play video games. We know what Pokemon are, which is cool." And then he disappeared into the mountains for 3 months. Got a job as an archery instructor for a Boy Scout camp.
Oh, cool.
So he was gone for 3 months, and I was like, I guess I'll never see this guy again. And then I found him at a pool party thrown by our friend Trista.
So it was meant to be.
Yeah.
And speaking of your husband, Ty, he's here, so we're going to invite him to come on up. Come on up, Ty.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Julia. And welcome, Ty. And we're going to take a brief break, and then we are going to have a few questions for you. We'll get back to our guest in just a moment. But
Do you have a story to tell?
would you, yes you, like to be a guest on the third chair?
Send us an email and tell us about yourself and your story.
And please follow us on social media.
Now back to the episode. We have here Ty, Hilleary. Now we talked to your wife for a couple hours. One last week and one this week, and now we got you in the hot seat. Do you feel comfortable?
Oh, I feel fine. Yeah.
Oh, good.
So, I'm liking it.
So, I understand you're bilingual.
Yes, both English and Japanese.
Can you speak a little Japanese for us?
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
Let's say something like.
I love my wife, Julia.
Oh man, hold up. Let me I don't get to practice it every day.
Or whatever you want to say to her.
Julia, boku wa kimi no koto o aishitemasu. There you go.
That's
Very
nice.
Yeah.
That
That's
sounded
nice.
really good.
You don't know this, but I speak fluent Japanese, and what he actually said was, I really like freshwater eel sushi.
Now that'd be something with the word unagi in it.
I thought it was, I like it when the eels attack you and when you're a mermaid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't get to practice it a lot. I do get to practice it when I'm with my little brother and my mother. However, between work schedule and stuff like that, I don't always get to talk to them.
Now, we talked a little about graphic novels at the end of the last session. You're into anime and manga.
Yes.
Manga?
Yeah.
Is that how that's said?
Yeah. So.
I never heard anybody pronounce it.
Well, now you heard it. So, and back growing up, especially coming between Japan and here in the U.S., my mother made sure one of her ways of teaching me, her maiden language was to read through these books that were all written in Japanese, and I wanted to because it was something that caught my attention, a bunch of cool characters doing cool things. Recently, my wife noted that, she was into an anime or manga called Naruto. It was all about cool ninjas and stuff like that. I also grew up on that along with my little brother and my cousin that lives in Japan. And we loved the series, and that was probably the smartest way to teach a kid a language was to teach him, hey, read this, you're gonna voluntarily read this language yourself in these series of books and stuff.
Was that your favorite series?
Oh yeah, growing up yeah. It was all the craze then too. So.
Oh, it was. Did they have shows on it too?
Oh yeah, they had. In fact, there's a second series now of the children of the main characters, and they're carrying on that generation legacy and stuff.
Do you watch that still, or?
Kind of, sort of, whenever I get a chance. So I kind of.
You're pretty busy.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I felt like my taste matured in what I liked instead of the kids on an adventure. Now it's one of the novels manga that I love to read. It's called Berserk, and it's about a guy who's pretty much struggling in the worst muck of life possible.
Okay, so it's more of an adult.
Oh yeah, very gory, very so
Berserk.
Now Julie told us about how she met you. Can you tell us your version of the story?
So pretty much it's starting off is pretty much the same. Like at first around that time I was looking for a job too, but that specific day I didn't want to do anything. I just did not want to. My dad's like, all right, come on, get yourself in a nice little outfit and we'll go to the convention center. We'll get you a job. And I was just like, okay.
Oh boy.
I guess. Fine, we'll do it. Okay. And I go there, I think I put in at least 5 or 6, maybe 10 applications to these places, and I never got a call back from any of them. I was like, oh, okay, well, that sounds about right. And there was a lull while I was standing around there, and then that's when I saw my wife, or well, then Julia, and I was like, hey, she seems really familiar. I think, where did I see her before? And I went up to Julia and said, hey, did I go to high school with you? And then from there on, the rest was history. And I felt really bad for, so we were talking a lot during that week and texting each other, but that was the same week that I got a phone call back from the Boy Scouts and saying, hey, we'd like to go ahead and hire you for archery instructor position. I was like, oh, cool. And they had terrible service up there. And if I got lucky, I think I maybe sent one text to Julia saying, hey, I'm still alive. How you doing? But then I never got a response because the service was so terrible. And so again, there you go. Gone for 3 months, and eventually came back. I was like, man, I'd love to text her, but I think it's kind of weird just to text her after being gone for 3 months like that. Ooh, she probably doesn't want to talk to me or something. So, life happens.
Young, you kind of overthink things.
Yeah, really.
And she was probably waiting for the text.
Yeah, pretty much.
Text me.
Yeah, that was the thing I didn't realize. And eventually we both just happened to go to the same pool party. Same day, same pool party right down the road from where we both lived. And I was like, oh, hey, Julia, long time no see. And then that's when I kind of got to explain myself, like, hey, I just came back from camp in the mountains where I had no service. Want to hang out? And then that's when we, finally started dating. So
Wow.
It's a neat story.
Yeah.
Now you're going for your undergraduate degree?
Yes.
Is that also at UCCS?
Yes. I'm still trying to, balance life, work life as well as school life and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully I can graduate within the next year. That's my goal at least. But it's going to be major is in criminal justice, and my minor is going to be in sociology.
And so what do you plan to do with that? Have you decided yet?
Currently, I have no. Yeah, especially with COVID, and I noticed that within the last couple of years, I've found a lot of interest in, I personally love writing stories, and I recently found out that's a new passion of mine. I was like, oh no, I'm in criminal justice. I mean that's possible, but I don't know. I really don't know what I want to do in life. I worked as a sheriff's deputy down in Pueblo for about 3 months. It was very short lasting because I didn't enjoy the job. And at first it was really cool. Worked with a couple of friends of mine as well, spectacular deputies and stuff. But I just felt like I was missing something for the job, and I eventually said, sorry, I'm not going to be able to fulfill this position. So, but I had to fall out of it, and I'm kind of in a lull of what type of job I'm wanting to be suited for. Maybe I want to go into security, maybe not really, and I don't know. Again, my options are open. So
flexible right now.
Yeah.
And so what do you do? Because you work and go to school.
Yes.
What do you do now?
Full-time working at a facility here in El Paso County. It's kind of like a halfway house for offenders who transition from prison or direct sentence individuals coming straight from a court, and they get a chance to avoid prison time. They come to the halfway house that I work at.
So what do you do there?
Pretty much my position there is a security monitor. Kind of like we just make sure that the residents there aren't getting into, crazy trouble or anything like that. And we just monitor them, interact with them, see how they're doing and stuff like that. My side is, I'd like to say it's more of like a security guard like job.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, so that kind of helps you maybe if you like that or not.
Yeah, originally that was the reason why I sought the position as a deputy, and once I got into the full depth of being a deputy, I just kind of went, okay, I need to back up. This is not what I was expecting. I'm going to back this up a little bit, come back to the job that I actually enjoy doing. So
you enjoy this more?
Oh, yeah. It's very much, I want to say it's a lot less security related. And I feel like my interactions with everyone around is a little more positive in that sense. So.
Are you gonna pursue the writing angle now?
Oh, I finally have within the when my wife and I were quarantined for COVID. I actually got a head start in working on a couple projects I've been wanting to explore for the last couple of years, and it's nice because I feel like it's something that I've had pent up for a while, and I can finally start putting it onto paper.
Good.
So
Good.
And being a security guard, you can.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you can have some free time to write on.
Sometimes it's more of like I like to explore concepts of ideas of, hey, if I were to do this, if you heard this in a story, what would you think? And I get to ask people that around here and there, and I'll throw it in casual conversation. But beyond that, work and my passion kind of, there's definitely a borderline where it's separated, and it's kind of like,
Since you're pretty far in school, have you been able to take a creative writing class or anything like that?
I was actually contemplating going back to Pikes Peak Community College and get a couple classes through there, because not only are they affordable, but they have great instructors there too. And that's where I have my associates from.
Sometimes they'll get an instructor that actually is a writer or something.
Yeah, no, they have great programs there.
Yeah,
It's like,
they do.
yeah, so.
Well, we're going to take a brief break, and when we come back, we're going to ask the question of Ty. When he's driving with Julia, is it stressful? Does she take her eyes off the road for extended periods of time to notice roadside colors and scenery?
Give him one of these.
Be right back. Hi, this is Peter Gregg on the set of The Third Chair. Our company, 2 Men and a Duck Entertainment, are excited about supporting Quantum Leap Recovery, an audio podcast that talks about all issues about drug and alcohol recovery. So watch for it and listen to it, and it'll be a great time of learning, and hopefully it'll help people that are struggling with these issues have a healthier life. Thank you very much. And welcome back. Oh, I'll wait for action.
Action.
Action. Welcome back, and we're here with Ty Hilleary. And at the last break, I asked him a question. If Julia's driving, does she ever take her eyes off the road to look at the beautiful scenery and colors and whatnot in a way that, let's say, could be stressful?
So I wouldn't say stressful at all. She's smart about it. And I made sure I adapted myself to be ready for it. No, it's nothing bad. It's nothing bad. So she'll notice, like, especially it happens around, like, sunset time, where you get different crazy colors in Colorado here, and she'll notice something that she wants to see, or she wants to look at or reference off later. And immediately I pull out the cell phone and go, okay, where? And I go, bam, bam, bam. I take as many pictures as possible of the area and what it looks like.
Oh, that's
and then
impressive.
I go, okay, and I send it all to her and say, all right, done. But during that time, she's like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Could you take a picture of that? And by the time she's looking at it, like, I'm like, okay, I'm getting my phone ready, getting the camera ready, and, all right, she wants pictures and stuff like that. So it's not stressful. It's just, and again, like I said, she's smart about it. She doesn't just aimlessly do one of these numbers or anything. So
yeah, I didn't think so, but what I found researching this is that it is a common phenomenon amongst artists when they're driving to, like, see something that's so inspirational at the moment that they want to suck it up, so to speak, and to the point of, like, ceasing what they're doing. Except if they're Pokemon hunting. They tend to keep doing that. Yeah. So, I know you've been married, about a year?
Oh, no. Actually, we got married this year. in our nice pandemic time of June. And I want to say this month would push about 6 months for us. So.
6 months. Woo!
Congratulations.
So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, we've been together for about 5 years plus before then, so, you know, I want to say we're both each other's best friends. It works very well.
That's excellent. And I know when I talked with you before, you mentioned that you guys like doing role-playing games.
Mhm.
And I assume that means things like Dungeons and Dragons or things like that. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, very much
Is
so.
this something you've done a long time together, or is this something you've discovered more recently?
I personally got into role-playing games back in high school.
Mhm.
Well, how most people get into it. And the friend group that I still have today, you know, they also complimented my, you know, my want to, you know, just explore other worlds and imagination and stuff.
Mhm.
And we did that through games such as Dungeons and Dragons, and we enjoyed it to the point, and I want to say that's the reason why that I'm inspired to, like, hey, I want to be a fantasy writer. That's really cool.
Mhm.
But eventually, I want to say about 2 years into our relationship, that's when I said, hey, Julia. I showed her some funny videos of stories that happened and stuff, and that's how to get her with humor.
Mhm.
And so I showed her a couple things. It's like, hey, this is a really funny story. You should watch it. She'd watch it. Oh, that's really funny. It's like, yeah, we had a familiar story just like that in our campaign that we hosted and stuff. And eventually that piqued her interest. So she's like, hey, I want to try it out. And eventually I hosted a story that went. It's been going on for about 2.5, 3 years now. You know, that's how I got her hooked onto it. And it's pretty much like, you know, looking from the outside in, it looks like entertainment without the television or without the screen or without the controllers. But once you're able to live in the moment with it, you realize it's so much more. And in fact, I could say it's a new way of storytelling that's going to just it's already gaining a lot of popularity with a celebrity like Matt Mercer. He's known as the D&D legendary god because he's such a funny, charismatic individual.
Matt Mercer.
Matt Mercer.
Never heard of him.
No? Okay, he's really popular in the Dungeons and Dragons
I'm
community.
gonna ask my daughter. I bet she's heard of him.
My daughter used to watch Will Wheaton play games.
Will Wheaton also, yeah, he's heavily into it as well. In fact, Will Wheaton hosts a channel where he just plays a bunch of board games. And I'm like, man, that's the dream job.
That is a dream job.
Oh, yeah, my daughter watched those, I mean, all the time, and she'd say, watch this one with Will Wheaton. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, what is an ideal date night with Julia? What would you choose to do for a date?
We're pretty. We do a lot of. We do a lot of different things, actually. There isn't just one specific thing we always aim and go towards to. If it's like a, hey, quick spur of the moment, we'll do something small, maybe go to... Well, this was before the pandemic happened. You know, we'd go to a new restaurant that we haven't tried out before. That was the thing that we like to do. Go to different cafes, try out their, you know, special drink of the week and stuff like that. And it just be spurred. A lot of the things we do aren't immediately like they're planned out ahead or anything, except for like a big vacation out of the country. It's very spur of the moment things, and that's something that I feel like always keeps a spark between us. Is, you know, we don't know what's going to come around the corner, but we know it's going to be something good.
So I've had friends that do couples yoga. And I've never really gotten all the details, but I get the sense that at one point he's like lifting her in the air and all kinds of things. Do you do like some kind of couples yoga like that?
So despite being married to a yoga instructor, it doesn't mean that I too am professional yogi or anything like that. I live a very laid back, relaxed style. To the point where she would invite me to do yoga, and I go, not today. I'm feeling lazy. The couch is calling me today. But that's my fault. However, whenever I do participate in her classes, I'm usually just the student. I'm not talented enough yet in yoga to be able to practice the crazy cool poses, although I'm pretty sure she wants to do those. So but all in due time. All in due time.
All right, so let's continue along the same vein. How about do you, and let me ask this carefully, do you practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu together, and does she get to choke you out or submit you?
When she first got me into practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that was life-changing, because that immediately within those first couple months of training, I was like, this is the martial art I want not only myself, but I want my future kids to be doing as well. However, that first half a year, it was rough, because she was already a whole belt color above me, and I'm here training with the rest of the rabble who just joined into class and stuff.
The rest of the rabble.
But it worked out nice, because my friend group that I also do the role-playing games with, they too are participate and practice in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and one of my buddies who's stationed in Cuba right now, one of his goals in life now is to open up his own Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym, and I'm like, if you do that, I'll throw whatever money you need to throw it in, because I'm down for it. That's
sure.
This is the art I want to do.
As long as Julie has enough art supplies.
Oh yeah. No. It's a good balance. I gotta hold between them.
Okay,
However, it's funny, because there will be days where she's a little tired from working and stuff like that, so she won't be super competitive. But I can find a way to get her to be a little catty. So.
Yeah, it's a good thing that we're not recording this conversation. And one last question. You've talked about doing a graphic novel together. So you would write the story and she would draw the cartoons or the characters? Is that how you see it? Or
actually, there's some tabletop RPG sessions that I already host. In some of those, I would usually find some basic thrown Google image thing and say, hey, this is the picture I'm going to reference. But there have been a lot of times where I'm like, I don't have a reference picture for this, and I don't have the artistic abilities to express it. And that's when I go straight to my wife and say, hey, this is my idea. You think you can pull it off? And she pulls it off immediately. And I'm just
seconds.
Oh.
Does she ever send you a bill for that or anything, like a commissioned work?
Oh, the bill comes in at the month.
Yeah.
So, no, she doesn't forget that. There's no worries on that. So.
Very good. I know Doug has a couple of questions for you.
So, the graphic novels, is your taste in graphic novels the same as Julia? Are you a big Calvin and Hobbes fan?
Oh yeah, I got into, I didn't get into Calvin and Hobbes until I didn't discover it until high school, and then I find out that she also likes having Calvin and Hobbes. I was like, oh, that's cute. All right, cool. And it's very funny, because a lot of what we thought were our own interests have melded into each other's interests. So it's gotten to the point where she could show me something, I could show her something, and we'd both be able to relate or laugh or appreciate and go, hey, that's cool. So
is there a graphic novel that you like that Julia does not even care for?
Oh, actually, Berserk. It's one that I can't get her into it, because there's not a lot of humor situations. It's a very dark, serious story, and she enjoys lighthearted kind of fantasy, but also it doesn't take itself too seriously. And I respect that. So
Wow. Berserk.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'd never heard of it.
Yeah,
I feel
so-
sorry.
So she redesigned your apartment, I understand.
Oh yeah, so I'm pretty sure 90, if not 95% of what we have in our apartment didn't exist. It'd just be a very sad bachelor pad. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived on a bachelor pad for a lot of years.
so, but no, she really helps make home feel like home. So if she wasn't there, it wouldn't feel like a home. So
And what a better way to end the show than that.
Yeah, so we're going to ask Julia to come on up and join Ty. Thank you very much both for being here, and we will put Julia's contact information. Do you have any contact information for any art projects or anything like that?
No.
No.
writings,
Well, thanks for asking.
books.
Yeah, we will definitely.
hopefully in the
He's
year.
already overwhelmed by his own jobs. he
Thank
makes
you.
the money for both of us.
All right. Well, thank you both so much
We
for
really
joining
enjoyed
us
these 2 episodes.
these last couple weeks.
No,
Thank
thanks
you,
for having
guys.
us.
Right.
really
Thank you.
appreciate
And next week we will do it all again. So we'll see you next week.
This has been The Third Chair. Next week, our guest will be Joe Black. Want to be a guest? Want to sponsor our show? Send us an email. Please subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media.